All right, what's up, y'all? Back with another video, and we're back on the Truth Is channel. And this video is called This Movie Tells Us the Ultimate Plan, and it's called Immaculate or something. It came out 2 years ago, I believe. I hope that fan's not too loud. I may have to turn that off because it's hot out there. So I may just have to turn it off or edit out the background noise or something. But anyway, I watched it already on someone else's channel because they reacted to it, and I don't remember everything he talked about in it, but it did remind me of certain movies they do, and they're always like trying to manifest the devil or the antichrist or something. They're always doing that. And if you think it's movies like End of Days, they did it, Devil's Advocate, um, The Last Exorcism. So I just want to see what movies he covered whenever he did it. I watched it, but I don't remember everything that he said. So we're gonna go ahead and jump in this video. Trying to move myself out the way over here. I had to move it so I could read the title. But here we go.
Hollywood keeps telling the same dark story. Back in 2024, they released three movies, Immaculate, The First Omen, and Apartment 7A, that had identical plots. Each movie showed a hidden group operating in the shadows, luring in a young woman to use her to bear the ultimate evil. In all three films, they planned on using this child for a sinister plan. But why did Hollywood keep making the same movie? And what are these movies really trying to tell us? In Immaculate, a young nun played by Sydney Sweeney receives an invitation to join an Italian convent that tends to dying nuns. Shortly after arriving, she starts to notice something is fundamentally wrong with the leadership. It all begins when one of the priests hands her a nail that she is told was used to crucify Jesus. After touching it, she immediately starts having strange nightmares and cannot decipher whether they're dreams or reality. In these nightmares, she sees a group of terrifying nuns with their faces covered in red masks, surrounding her and trying to take something out of her stomach.
Mm,
After these visions, something impossible happens. She discovers that although she is a virgin, she somehow became pregnant. Everyone in the covenant
mm,
sees her as the chosen one, and her pregnancy as an immaculate conception. They tell her she is the one who will give birth to the second coming. But while the leadership seems supportive at first, the illusion quickly shatters. When she asks to see a doctor for abnormal pregnancy symptoms, they refuse to let her visit a real hospital. When her only friend starts asking questions, the leadership takes her away for physical punishment and she is never seen again. She is eventually told the terrifying truth. The leadership is actually a rogue fraction operating within the church. They are trying to fast track the apocalypse to force humanity to believe in God again. To do
mm.
this, they collected the DNA of Jesus from the crucifixion nail and inseminated her with an artificial seed. By the end of the movie, she manages to escape, brutally fighting her way out of the covenant. She makes it just outside the building before giving birth to the literal false Messiah. And the movie ends with her destroying the creature they forced her to carry. This movie is terrifying in so many ways.
That's pretty wild. So they use the blood in the movie. They use the blood to, I guess, have the Antichrist baby. The blood from the actual Christ. That's pretty crazy, dude. Actually, I said it wrong. That's insane. Insane.
Because it shows exactly how a deception of this magnitude would actually unfold. Sydney's character was lured in by the church under the guise of doing good. Once they had her, they made her believe she was chosen by God to give birth to a miracle. In reality, she was bearing the ultimate evil. At the end, she realizes she was completely deceived. This mirrors the
Huh.
exact concept of the false second coming. The false Messiah is prophesied to present himself as the real deal, tricking the world with false miracles and positioning himself within the church.
Yeah, signs and lying wonders. Antichrist is really in place of Christ. So yeah, he's right. Yeah.
He masquerades as the true Messiah to gain humanity's trust, only to guide them to their demise. This is exactly the blueprint this movie visualizes. But this film also does something else. Whether intentional or not, it paints those who believe in God as the ultimate enemy. Many have noticed that Hollywood consistently frames God's followers as evil or fringe fanatics capable of the most heinous acts imaginable in movies.
Yeah, like Carrie.
In this movie, you have nuns, women who are supposed to be the most devoted to God, committing unthinkable atrocities. Not only were they using brutal methods to control their covenant, but they resorted to playing God to artificially bring forth the false Messiah. To
Mm.
many, it feels like a lot of these films present devoted believers as the real problem. I believe this recurring theme in Hollywood is dangerous. It misrepresents an entire spiritual belief system and depicts his most devoted followers as literal heartless monsters. Now, what makes this all the more interesting is that this movie came out just days before another movie with an identical story. The First Omen was released April 5th, 2024, just days after Immaculate, which was released in late March 2024.
I didn't know
When I
none of
tell
this.
you these movies are literally identical, I am not exaggerating. The First Omen is a prequel to the 1970s classic, The Omen. In this
Mm.
film, we again follow an American nun who arrives at an Italian orphanage in Rome. Just like in Immaculate, some members of the Covenant who operate the orphanage are hiding a sinister plan. They want to use this American nun to carry the ultimate evil. This time, the nun is invited to a disco with strange men for a night of fun. She eventually loses consciousness, waking up with no memory of what happened the night before.
Mm.
Immediately after this, she starts experiencing dark hallucinations. Eventually, she discovers an underground chamber that reveals everything to her. Those operating this orphanage belong to a hidden group within the church. Their goal is to speed up the arrival of the Antichrist
Mm.
by literally breeding him. They want to use the Antichrist to bring forth the apocalypse and force humanity back to God. After discovering this, she ends up remembering exactly how she became the carrier. When she lost consciousness at the disco, the group initiated a dark ceremony. During this ceremony, they forced her to become the vessel for the ultimate evil. By the end of the movie, she has twins, and the organization takes the boy and names him Damien. This
Mm.
leads directly into what happens in the Omen movie. This is extremely interesting because the remake of the Omen movie that came out in 2006 was released on a very questionable date. The
Wow.
movie was released on June 6, 2006. Now,
I never knew that. I didn't see it in theaters. I think I watched it when it came out on DVD. Blockbuster Hollywood, one of them. Probably Blockbuster back in '06. I was in college. Didn't know it was that date though. It's pretty wild.
when you look at that date numerically, you get this. They literally use this as marketing for the movie. I'm not going to cover the rest of the Omen in this video, but I think that it would be a great follow-up because there's so much there. If you want to see a full breakdown on the Omen franchise and what it's trying to tell us, comment part 2 below.
I'm curious what happened with that other baby in that last movie he was talking about. What's it called? The first, yeah, well, is it the first Omen? Yeah, this one. Well, yeah, first Omen. I'm curious what happened. I'd rather not watch that movie though.
If I see enough of you interested, I'll make sure to get it done. Now, while two movies with the same story dropping days
I
apart
might
might be
read
seen
about it
as
though.
just a coincidence, things start to get strange when we look at Apartment 7A. This movie dropped in September 2024, just months after Immaculate and The First Omen. It had a very similar blueprint, but the only difference is that it did not take place in a church. This time, a young woman is lured in by rich socialites who live in an exclusive New York City building. Apartment 7A follows Terry, an aspiring dancer who was lured in for a sinister plan. It all begins the moment she suffers a devastating, career ending injury during a performance.
Hmm.
In an instant, she goes from a rising star to a has been. Searching for any possible second chance, Terry follows a powerful Broadway producer to his home at the highly exclusive Branford building. Because of the heavy painkillers she's on, she collapses right outside the front doors. Out of nowhere, a wealthy older couple happens to find her at the exact right moment. They help her up and bring her inside the building to allow her to sleep it off. When she wakes up, they offer her a rent free apartment in this super expensive building. Terry accepts the offer, completely unaware that their overwhelming kindness comes with a massive hidden cost.
Hmm.
At that moment, she thought she bumped into the most benevolent couple in the world, but she would soon find out that this offer came with a dark price. After Terry tells them about her dreams of making it as a dancer, the older couple sets up a private meeting for Terry with the Broadway producer. When she arrives at his apartment, he offers her a single drink, which causes her to lose consciousness. When she wakes up the next morning, her memory is completely gone, but the producer assures her she just landed a prime role in his upcoming Broadway show. Soon after, she discovers she's pregnant. Terry has no idea how it happened, but assumes the baby belongs to the producer. As
Hmm.
her pregnancy progresses, she starts having strange nightmares of being stalked by a group of people wearing strange masks, accompanied by a dark entity. Eventually, Terry discovers a hidden passageway leading directly into a neighbor's apartment. Inside, she uncovers the absolute truth of her situation. She finds a dark grimoire containing a ceremony to bring forth the Antichrist into the world. Following the clues, she descends into a hidden sub basement temple. The Broadway producer finally confronts her in this underground room, revealing she was chosen for their darkest ceremony. The group selected her and guided her to the building so they can use her as the vessel for this ultimate evil. They
Hmm.
tell her that her child will change the world forever. Terry refuses to go along with the plan and makes a daring escape that costs her everything. This leads directly into the events of Rosemary's Baby,
She had some sort of Matthew Lillard dance from She's All That going on there, but never mind that.
which serves as the chronological sequel. The group instantly replaces Terry with Rosemary, a new arrival to the Bramford building. To capture Rosemary, they deploy the exact same manipulation tactics they used on Terry. The older couple immediately sweeps in, playing the role as wealthy saviors. They secure Rosemary and her husband an exclusive apartment inside the Bramford. They shower the young couple with expensive gifts and suddenly thrust them into a world of high society and limelight they could never afford on their own. They
Hmm.
use extreme generosity to win them over, ensuring the couple feels entirely obligated to them. To guarantee Rosemary does not escape, they make sure to get the husband in on the plan. They approach Rosemary's husband, an ambitious but struggling actor, and offer him the exact same deal they offered Terry. They promise him massive fame, wealth, and a highly successful acting career.
I believe they did a show of that with the girl from, her name might be Zoe or something. I don't know. She was in Ashton Kutcher and Bernie Mac. Guess Who? You know, it was like a remake of the movie back in the day.
But his price of admission into their exclusive inner circle is his own wife. He must allow them to use her to carry out their plans, and he must actively work to keep her isolated and confused throughout the entire process. He immediately accepts the deal, trading his wife's freedom for his own stardom. But unlike Terry, who managed to escape, Rosemary ended up having the baby. After watching all three films, it becomes quite obvious that Hollywood, for some reason, likes to tell this specific story. The
Mm.
exact same story was approved by Hollywood 3 times in the same year. Millions of dollars were spent greenlighting movies that told the exact same story about a hidden group who lures in a woman they use to bring forth the ultimate evil.
Yeah, that does seem weird because three movies, then three sixes. They definitely did that on purpose. But it's like this one guy, Stephen Dolan, says in one of his old videos. It's him or someone else says that everything you see in movies, they're either doing it or they're trying to do it. I mean, it's true though.
You might say that because the first movie was a success, it probably led to other studios copying the idea. But the truth is, none of these movies were massive box office hits. They could have spent that money producing a film they knew was going to make them a massive profit. Instead, these studios all decided to make the exact same movie, all in 2024. I could only wonder if they were trying to tell us something. This could literally
Yeah.
just be a massive coincidence, or it could be something much deeper. Think about the
Right.
actual logistics of the Hollywood machine. Before a single scene is filmed, a script has to be pitched by writers,
Yeah.
reviewed by producers,
That's right.
and ultimately greenlit by a board of high level studio executives. In
Yeah.
that sense, it would mean that every single person in that chain of command across multiple studios would have had to look at this exact same story and sign off on it. They pushed this identical narrative 3 separate times in a single year, likely aware that these specific films were not going to be massive billion-dollar blockbusters. In an industry that is notoriously obsessed with maximizing financial returns,
That's true.
they willingly spend tens of millions of dollars producing redundant films. When you look at it from
Mm.
a pure business perspective, It implies that the primary goal of these releases was not to generate record breaking income.
Yeah.
It aligns closer with the goal of sending a direct message.
Yeah, it's kind of like throwaway money, really, for them. That's what it is, though. He's right about that, too.
And when they repeatedly flood the market with the exact same theme, it could have a profound effect on the audience. In a way, it could even help desensitize you. By
Yeah.
watching the exact
Yep.
same dark concept play out over and over, what used to be shocking becomes standard, everyday entertainment. Ultimately, when you look at these three movies side by side, it serves a fascinating case study. It really makes you question if Hollywood is simply following a bizarre trend, or if there is something else entirely happening behind the scenes. When three identical dark concepts get funded and placed right in front of millions of eyes in the exact same year, it becomes incredibly difficult to write it off as a simple coincidence. It makes you wonder if this is just twin films, or is there something else entirely happening behind the scenes? I want to know what you guys think. Is this just one massive coincidence, or do you believe there might have been a more calculated reason behind all of this?
Yeah, I'm going to say that's more calculated for sure. Strategically done. That's just me, though. But I think that's what they do, man. I mean, they're clearly demonic. The music industry, entertainment, period. Forcing the letter stuff. They got mad about the baseball players putting some scriptures on to say what the rainbow really is, and trying to force them to do the pride stuff. It's pretty wild.
While the industry would never tell us why they do what they do, I believe their choices tell us everything we need to know. For some reason, Hollywood likes to make twin movies featuring these dark themes. Recently, I broke down this movie, which just so happened to come out simultaneously alongside of Ready or Not 2. Just like these three movies,
Huh.
those films featured hidden groups and strange ceremonies. If you want to see what those movies told us, watch this video right now. If you want to further support the channel, join me on Patreon. It's only $3 a month and you get access to over 60 exclusive videos. Another way to support the channel is simply by liking and hyping this video. When you hit the hype button, you tell the algorithm this video needs to be seen by everyone. Also, make sure to subscribe so there is no way my posts get lost in the algorithm. Well, that's it for this one. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, that was a good video. Yeah, I always question stuff like this. I didn't know about any of those three movies, but I still am curious what they did with the baby though, because it was twin babies. I'll probably read about it because I probably don't want to sit there and watch that. Not on no religious stuff. I just don't feel like watching movies like that. Hmm. But make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Truth Is channel. And that's just something I wanted to cover because I've been wanting to do that one. And I'm finally off work, so I did it today. Should have it out pretty soon. But until next time, God willing, I will catch y'all later.